Hello there and welcome to my guide for painting Captain America from Marvel Zombies. As you can see, the first thing I did was sprayed them with some matte white spray from Colourforge. Then, as most of Captain America is blue, I went ahead and used some Macragge blue to paint all those areas. Don't forget to paint the blue area on his shield at this stage as well. All of this was then given a wash with some Drakenhof Nightshade. Once that wash has dried, we're going to dry brush Captain America with some Macragge blue just to start brightening up all those colours. This will be followed by a 50-50 mix of Macragge blue and Calgar blue. Then Calgar blue just by itself. And a final highlight of a 50-50 mix of Calgar blue and Blue Horror. Next, I'm going to start painting his red, and for that I'm going to use some Mephiston red, which will get a wash with some Carroburg crimson. Once that wash is dried, I'm going to go in and relayer the Mephiston red just to neaten things up a little bit, and I'm going to avoid all the recesses. Then the first highlight will be a 50-50 mix of Mephiston red and Evil Sunz Scarlet, followed by Evil Sunz Scarlet just by itself. Then a 50-50 mix of Evil Sunz Scarlet and Wild Rider Red. I'm now going to move on to painting Captain America's skin. For the zombie Captain America, it's going to be Rakarth Flesh. And for Hero Cap, we're going to use some Bugman's Glow. All of those skin sections will then get washed with some Reikland Flesh Shade. While that wash dries, I'm going to use some Iron Hand Steel to paint the inside of Captain America's shield and his buckle around his belt. I'll also paint Winter Soldier's arm that's on the zombie version's base. There's also other bits of metal on that base, and for that I'm going to use some Iron Warriors because I want that metal to be a little bit darker. All of these metal areas will then get washed with some Nuln Oil. Once that wash is dried, I'm going to relayer the skin with some Bugman's Glow, making sure you avoid the recesses. I'm also going to start painting his eyes at this point, so for that I'm going to use some Abaddon Black, followed by some matte white, and then Abaddon Black again just to dot the pupil. I'll then go back to the skin and do a 50-50 mix of Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone for the first highlight. Then Cadian Flesh Tone for the second highlight. And then finally a 50-50 mix of Cadian Flesh Tone and Kislev Flesh for the final. For Zombie Captain America, I'm going to use some Flayed One Flesh for the first layer of highlights. I'm then going to use some Carroburg Crimson to make his eyes look a little bit more sunken in and creepier. And I'll finish off the skin with some Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm then going to use some Fire Dragon Bright just to dot his eyes in, because that's what they look like on the card. And then I'm going to move on to the metal and start highlighting that. I'm going to highlight the Iron Warriors with some Iron Hand Steel. And then I'll start to highlight the rest of the metal with a 50-50 mix of Iron Hand Steel and Stormhost Silver. And then the second highlight will be Stormhost Silver just by itself. For his pouches, I'm going to use some Mournfang Brown, which I'll wash with some Army Painter Soft Tone. While that's drying, and before we start painting the white, I'm going to deal with the crossbone mask that's on his base, and I'm going to use some Abaddon Black for that, which we followed with a highlight of Corvus Black. Then I'll relayer the Mournfang Brown on his pouches, highlight them with a 50-50 mix of Mournfang Brown and Scrag Brown, followed by a final highlight of Scrag Brown all by itself. Then I'll start working on the white, and for that I'm going to use some Grey Seer where the white should be. This will be followed by a 50-50 mix of Grey Seer and Matte White, with a final highlight of Matte White. Then we'll paint Baron Zemo's mask with some Screamer Pink, followed by a 50-50 highlight of Screamer Pink and Matte White. Then for the third and final mask of a character that for the life of me I can't remember his name, but we're going to use some Warpstone Glow to paint that. This will be followed by a 50-50 mix of Warpstone Glow and Moot Green for the first highlight. Then Moot Green just by itself. We'll finish off Baron Zemo's mask with a small bit of Retributor armor. Then we'll use some Dawnstone to start painting all the rocky areas of both the bases, which we'll dry brush with some Grey Seer. We'll paint the star on the Winter Soldier's arm with some Mephiston red along with the Hydra logos. These will then get a highlight with some Evil Sunz Scarlet. Using some Abaddon black, we'll paint the rims. And then we'll wash the base with some watered down Agrax Earthshade. Finally, I'm going to add some Blood for the Blood God to the zombie version of Captain America, but you can skip this part if you wish. And with that, that's both Captain America's finished. They are quite a lot of fun to paint. I like the little Easter eggs on their bases, that's quite enjoyable. And a really nice touch added by Kamon. These guys didn't take too long to paint whatsoever, only clocking in around about 4.5 hours for the pair, and they are really fun to paint. The Captain America shield can be a little bit fiddly, but just have a little bit of patience and you'll get there in the end. Always remember that if you make a mistake, you can always repaint over it. If you follow this guide, I hope you found it useful, and I hope you consider giving me a subscribe and a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much again, and goodbye for now.